Virgil has a 10-minute battle theme in this game. It's nice to have things you like get more quality content. It's extra rare though to have a character from something you like return years later, and get a symphonic character study that's longer than some levels in the actual game. Bury the Light is a perfect battle theme for Virgil. It's intense and ominous, yet tragic, both in the sound and lyrics. Unlike his brother and son, Virgil has always longed to embrace his demon power, and the song reflects the euphoria of accepting it. But along with that power comes tragedy and loneliness. In spite of all he attains, something is missing.
Which one of you will die first?
It's a great contrast with Dante's theme that's all about containing his demon power and not letting it override his humanity. Yes, Dante is frequently jovial and not too serious a guy, but if you view the battle themes as inner monologues, it makes sense that Dante's is so dark and he's not singing about having a delicious bowl of chocolate ice cream or something. Yeah, maybe this guy is a little worried about his overwhelming demonic power corrupting him and has to work on keeping it at bay, his chill demeanor being part of that. The guy originally didn't even want to acknowledge he had a father, knowing he was a demon. But no matter how much this darkness gnaws at him through the years, in the end... And by me, he means the true him, his humanity. Now, 10 minutes for a battle theme might seem excessive, but with this new edition's legendary Dark Knight mode, it can come in handy as you tackle these insane waves. Virgil is of course now playable, and he is a beast. One might say a little overpowered, as he was in 4 Special Edition. But if he's always going to be some post-game purchase intended to be used after the game has been played through once properly, then I've come to accept that as a fine bit of fun. Especially on LDK mode.
There is no escape!
I think he's escaping, Virgil. It's the little touches I appreciate, though. The little teleport behind you move. Endless fun. Teleporting is what makes Virgil feel so unstoppable to play as you can be hitting something almost all of the time, and it's on you if you're not. On the flip side, you're also rewarded for playing it cool and slow with Virgil. The concentration meter is an example of that, but also is just how well his various summon sword moves complement the taunt system. He can shoot without lifting a finger, so you're free to show off while dealing damage or immobilizing enemies. It feels really good. Virgil has some awesome taunts too. You can craft some truly awesome battle sequences. Mid-fight, you can have him take out his book or Nero's arm, have him contemplate what to do, and then with the dynamic music at its peak, destroy an enemy like you're not even paying attention to them.
Shall I entrust it?
Voila, you've crafted a scene as cool as any cutscene, all while experiencing the stakes of combat yourself. I guess you could say you're playing Devil May Cry.
You look like you just had your ass handed to you.
This is also the special edition of a Devil May Cry game, so you better start crafting your own cutscenes, because the game's not going to provide many new ones for you. You get a new cutscene at the start of the Virgil campaign, you play through all the levels from the main story without cutscenes, and then you get some new ones at the end. They've been doing this since 3, and it never ceases to be a little disappointing. The real new cutscenes are saved for the patcher slot, again. Here, playing the campaign as Virgil makes the least sense it ever has, as DMC5 has a non-linear series of missions. So Virgil will just appear all over, in the past, in the present. He'll start a level and end it back at the start of that level. It's weird, but still pretty fun. The new cutscenes that are here are pretty cool, but look way cheaper than what was already in the game. I get that this special edition was made at a difficult time, but it is unfortunate that they stand out as so much worse looking. It sullies what was such a technically and visually polished package across the board to such an insane detail. And that's always the issue with these SE editions for DMC. Can you complain about a version of a game with technically more stuff? I guess not. But that content usually hangs off the game in a floppy way that butts up against how much care was taken with the original release. Well, except maybe in 4's case. Virgil is just kind of here now, his cutscenes aren't as nice, there's no new real enemies or levels or bosses. Well, except one. The bigger issue, though, was the cost of all of this on release. 5SE launched alongside the PS5 and that other console that came out too. So you had to buy the game and an expensive piece of hardware that was out of stock everywhere if you wanted it. In that light, it was a ridiculous proposition, especially when they had announced that Virgil would be DLC for the previous platforms, meaning you'd be paying $500,000 for Turbo Mode, Legendary Dark Knight, and Ray Tracing. But okay, once you get the PS5 and you boot it up, you're good to go, right? All of those features, all at the best possible quality. Well, sort of. It's a little confusing. So you can play at 4K, but with ray tracing on, the game will be 30 FPS. But at 1080p, with ray tracing on, it will be 60 FPS. But if you want to play at 120 FPS, then you need to turn ray tracing off entirely. And you can't run Turbo Mode or Legendary Dark Knight mode with ray tracing on either. Right out of the box, you have to start making a lot of decisions. Now, it would be nice to be able to mix and match these features more freely. Maybe on a machine like a high-end PC. But SE5 didn't release on PC for some unknown reason.
Show me your motivation.
Just like DMC Devil May Cry Definitive Edition. It's funny that on PC, vanilla DMC4 had Turbo Mode and Legendary Dark Knight mode, and yet 4SE was the one they pulled out all the stops to get on PC. I mean, I'm willing to accept that LDK wasn't possible on PS4, that ray tracing, of course, definitely isn't, and that Turbo Mode... If you say it wasn't possible, I suppose I could believe it. I mean, they did get that working on PS2, but I'll assume there's some reason why it wouldn't be possible on a PS4 for this game. But why not add these features to PC? It just doesn't make any sense. Hopefully the PS6 will be backwards compatible, and Capcom will make a patch to allow everything to be cranked to the max on SE, so we can experience the game in all modes with glorious ray tracing that looks so much... better? I've got to say, I don't even know after all is said and done if I like the more washed out look the ray tracing effect brings. And all that for a blurry reflection of your character on some surfaces. Yeah, truly amazing how far we've come. Thing is, I get the practicality of a feature like ray tracing for games with big worlds where having the game figure out how to light itself realistically on its own is efficient. But in these dense single-player adventures, I'm more interested in a curated style and atmosphere. I find that more important than light bouncing realistically. DMC5's brightness settings are a convoluted nightmare, I will admit. I always see people with way blown out footage that looks awful. Maybe they said it that way to see the monsters better, but I'm all about the aesthetic. For better or for worse. It seems whoever made the promotional screenshots for SE also had this problem. They look awful and blown out. Look at the original release's promo shots. Okay, these do lean maybe a bit into bullshot territory, but the game in its original release looks way better than the shots they were sharing for SE. A PC that can run this game and every extra at max settings is a ways off for me and a lot of people. But I would have just liked the full SE package as PC DLC, just so I didn't have to lose the S ranks I got in the standard edition. And now feel the need to get again. DMC5 is my favorite kind of game to get ranks in. Ultimately, I've decided I do like the more pared back style meter in DMC5 compared to something like Bayonetta. Sure, it will go up to indicate when you're doing well, but it won't break every move and its worth down for you in numbers, which encourages messing around more and not just aiming for objectively the best thing to do to get a triple S all the time. Looking cool isn't an objective thing, and that Devil May Cry 5 in the heat of battle doesn't attempt to measure it as if it is a good thing. The way the end level score is calculated is like the opposite of Bayonetta, rather than how in that game you can make up for a bad result in a big fight by just doing really well in a small one. Here it's the opposite, do a smaller fight and the game smacks you across the face. Each battle's points are sort of averaged out at the end of a mission. So if you get into a small fight, you're limited to getting a smaller amount of points, which means smaller fights have a good chance of lowering your overall score. You're best off running past non-obligatory fights in most cases if you're going for score. The badass Sons of Sparta running past smaller demons. But in the end, I think it makes for a better system because you can just focus on getting good at the trickier and bigger fights when replaying levels. I mean, you run past them, but it really is a case of them just not being worth your time, which I guess is kind of badass. If you feel this is still too wussy, just remember, this isn't canon. You're replaying a level. He didn't have half these weapons when he was actually here either. Stop thinking about this so hard. Probably one of the coolest parts of SE or just the Virgil DLC on its own is you do get a new boss fight that wasn't in the original release. Dante. 2 versions of him. I actually love this fight. I never considered how terrifying having Cavalier coming at you would be. That is so weird to see coming at me. That's terrifying. I'm just not used to seeing that bike coming at me. When Virgil spams a move, it's like a sword move, right? So you're like, oh, that looks sensible. But when Dante spams a move, it's like some ridiculous Dante shit. So it's just a guy coming at you with a bike over and over again, just like throwing a bike at you a million times. Dante is hard as well in this fight, as is befitting the character. I like how they implement a Royal Guard, where you've got to watch out for the possibility he's just going to turn your move back at you. It would have been cool to fight Nero, of course, for Fight 20, but the Nero boss fight is still relegated to Devil May Cry 4 Refrain for iOS. I'm not kidding. That port is wild, by the way. It features new conversations between Credo and Dante. Check it out. But should you check out DMC5 Special Edition, though? Yeah. If you already have a PS5, who cares about promotional screenshots and a couple of dodgy cutscenes? It's the best action game ever made, with a bit more stuff. I'm sure you've spent money in worse ways.